Hello, my name is Nathan Dean and I'm a writer based in Lincoln, England. And I've been sent through some questions by Brooks Lamp about making zines, as I've started one recently called Esoterica. So I'm going to answer those now using Windows Live Movie Maker, so there's going to be wonderful like sliding in questions and things. Hold on to your seats, this is going to be amazing. Right, let's do this. Cool. So first question, why did you start making zines? Okay, so initially the reason why I made Esoterica was quite a selfish one. And that was because I feel I would like more recognition for the writing that I'm creating than I currently am at the moment. I published some novels, etc., done some theatrical work, and I wanted to create a new method of advertising that I am here in the world. And at the same time, I discovered the weird side of Twitter, as it was called by Yul Aramchek. I believe that's how you pronounce his name, who was in our first issue, Copper. The weird side of Twitter is various writers of different ilks and backgrounds and styles who write new, weird, esoteric fiction. And I thought I could combine these two things. There's all these people similar to me in the same boat, all needing that push for people to find them and discover them. And I thought to myself that to do something like Esoterica would be that. So the reason why I started making zines was threefold. One, because I selfishly want people to see that I exist. Two, that I think other writers feel the same way. And three, to see if by happenstance could make some extra money to help artistic communities. And so far it is working. Like we are getting some funding out of it, which I'm hoping to put back into the artistic community here and elsewhere. Yes. Question one done. Question two. What was your first zine about and what did it look like? Well, the only zine I've done so far is Esoterica, and the first issue was Copper. The themes are randomly generated with a word generator that I found online, much like random.org for numbers, but it was for words. And so far we've had copper and plant were randomly generated. And how I simply produce the zine is it's a PDF you download from Gumroad.com. Gumroad is a website where you can put up any file, pick a price for it, which can be nothing to, I think it's £1,000, and then you just ask people to download it. So it's just an e-store platform. But what it looked like, in short, was a very basic cover. I wanted to keep the interior quite simple. I wanted the writing to speak for itself. I wanted to have a distinctive feel with the sort of font choices and things that I was using. But at the end of the day, I wanted to keep it looking as simplistic as possible because this was something that people are just downloading from the internet. They're just putting it on Kindles or iPads and things. They're going to be reading it on trains. They're going to be reading it in classrooms at the back of the class when they should be listening to their teachers. And I wanted it to just be quite simplistic in appearance, that the writing could speak for itself, seeing as that is what it was. The second issue was much different because I had one person wanted to put pictures, art in there. I had a musician construct a 2-track soundtrack for the zine, and this changes dramatically how you present that, but I'll let the zine speak for themselves because you can download those from my Gumroad and help support people. Yeah. Question 3. What moment in your zine making are you most proud of? Bringing everyone together. We've had such a range of artists and writers from all over. There's been people that I know personally in Lincoln. Like in the next issue, I've asked a theatrical friend of mine to write a play that will go into the next issue, a 1-act play. So I've had people that I personally know in the creative community and gone, I want to help you, so come and do the thing that I'm doing. But also the fact that I can put that right beside someone like Brooks Lamp, who is now asking me to talk about zines to you, which is remarkable. It's like he thinks I know what I'm doing. Then I have writers like Evelyn Hollow, who have been there for every issue so far and has just emailed me now saying she's going to be in the next one. The idea that all these people will come together to help on something like this is fantastic for me, especially as what we're only really getting out of this is helping one another on a very basic physical level. Like, I'm doing this now, in return I will get poetry. I think that's a very honest way of doing things, and That's my mode. It's fundamentally how I think artistic communities should work. All it needs now is just to keep rolling forward, and I hope that doing things like this and what you're gonna do with whatever you're learning from this and want to develop in your own careers, I hope that we can all do wonderful, wonderful things together. What practical tips do you have for someone making their first zine using the tools, designing, copying, etc.? Right, so firstly, get good software. I miss having Adobe. Like, I can't afford it anymore. Like, I had the period, I had a company, but when I worked in transmedia, I had Adobe Creative Cloud as part of my job. Then I moved away from that job, and now I don't have it, and that makes me very sad because now I'm using GIMP and other free software to make the zine with. I'm using Word to put it together, and I miss having InDesign, Illustrator, etc., to be able to actually make covers, to properly format pages, to construct it properly, because that is key. I mean, if you're not just writing it and sending it off to an editor and they're dealing with it and you're the one that's putting it on the page, you need to have decent software to make it look right. So firstly, if you can, get Adobe Creative Suite. If you can't get that, GIMP does do the job, but it's not what I would suggest. Also, even on this isn't so much practical, it's more theoretical, but distinctly know what you want your zine to be. Like, I know that I want my zine to be writing, helping writers which I feel either don't get the recognition they deserve or are getting the recognition, but having a free space to do what they feel they need to do in is great. So that's what I had, a distinct vision of what I need it to look like and what I want it to accomplish. I wanted to take that feeling that I got on the weird side of Twitter and convert it. If you don't have a distinct idea of what you want your zine to be, you're just shoving things in a blender and getting a mush at the end. You need to have you need to bake a cake. That was helpful. But yeah, have decent software, have a distinct image of what you're making, and also length. This isn't a huge block magazine. This isn't like Huck. You're not buying an enormous magazine. You're buying a zine. Even the term alone is shortened. So this is like a flyer, a bit bulkier, that you're giving people to give people an idea of what you want them to learn about. So don't overbear yourself by creating an enormous thing. Like, simplify it, keep it small, keep it sweet. Like, when people, like with the writing one, I have a 3,000 word limit because I know that on an A5 PDF that's quite bulky. I don't want 200 3,000 word, I need it to be succinct. Zines are succinct, magazines have a bit more breadth to be able to talk about what they need to. So, decent software, distinct idea, short and sweet. 5. What is the role of the zine today, and what does the zine community offer? To be fair, I feel quite on the fringe of this kind of world. Like, when you sent through the email these questions, and you're saying, well, I've sent my students all of this and they're reading these things, and I'm going, I've never even heard of these things, I need to be in this class. So I feel quite on the edge. I can only talk about this from a very practical level of I had a problem, which was I wish people were seen more in the writing community, and a solution, which was I'm going to do a zine in what I understood a zine to be, which was this succinct, slightly esoteric, on the edge. If you imagine artistic communities are like festivals, we're the tent on the edge, playing the weird noise music that only a couple of people go to. And I'm happy with that, and I'm happy that the role of the zine is, for me, finding countercultural or fringe culture, or the strange, the not usually as expected, the non-conformist, and giving it a place in the world. The positive of this is that everything deserves to have a place, to have a voice. The zines are allowing that. The deficit to this is that if the ideology is already purporting that this is on the edge, this isn't normal, this isn't for me, then all you're doing is continuing that. You're not, these people that have this thing to say maybe can't get into the main literary, artistic, musical fields because you're telling them already that this is only really for fringe art zines. Positive, it's a space where people can talk. Negative, it's continuing a feeling of where things belong. This is high art, this is low art, and I don't want that. I never want that. So that would probably be my next goal with Esoterica as we go along, is to try and break that boundary down, which is what I try and do with all my art. But, you know, that's hard. So what the zine community offers is, it's within its own question, community. If you go to Dazed Magazine's website, they have a section on zines that are coming out, and there's so many. There's like an inundation of this thing. Again, it's like every other artistic field on the internet now. It's oversaturated. This isn't necessarily a bad thing. It means that more and more people have space to say what they need to say. Whether they're getting heard, different matter. This is something you're going to need to consider if you're thinking of doing a zine. I'm uncertain what your plan is actually as students individually, what you want to create in the world. But be very aware that your voice might potentially get lost in a sea of megaphones, and what zines are is not quite loud enough yet, in my opinion. So if you can really like find a way, which is what I'm hoping to do with this, is because I'm already taking a community and then just giving it a structure. Like, this esoteric community lives in this esoteric zine, if that makes sense. TLDR version. The role of the zine is to give artistic communities that might not already have a platform to speak on a platform, and what that offers is a community of artists that understand and respect one another, all sharing and giving each other their ideas, which is what all art should be, but sadly it is not. Fix that. So here's a little mini conclusion thing about all the questions that I've been given and the answers that I'm trying to give. I apologise it isn't as academic as you probably require, but I can only talk from a practical perspective. I'm a writer. I try and do things which don't follow the grain, and that naturally led me to create zines within a community of people doing the same thing. There's a lot of people all fighting to create art, music, literature, whatever, that doesn't follow the usual strands. And I can only hope that you're going to do the same thing with what you're going to create. Get decent software, do it properly, have a distinct voice, know what you want to say, even if what you want to say is, I don't know what to say. That could be the name of your zine, like, I don't know. Like, even if that is what is the question that you're asking, make sure that you know what you're asking and what you're going to create. In anything. Like, I can talk about zines, but in anything that you do, in anything that you write, and in anything that you create, make sure that it's distinct. And that's, yeah. I think I'm done. Anyway, so I hope you all are enjoying the lesson and everything goes wonderfully. I hope you all write wonderful things. If you want to contact me, I'm going to do a white thing with Windows Movie Maker's amazing skills, because it's such good software. And yes, if you want to chat to me about zine making, writing, anything, just get in contact. And I hope this helps. I'm going to press the stop button now. Bye.